lights used. Increase and more. Holiday electric items from the dudes at Dudes. Wants to inspect your home's electrical integrity. Experts options the whole generator and 3. Gabroots has live call answer 7. We're here any time of day, especially in case of an emergency. At Gabroots, electrical work is all we do. And at the holidays, we're here to ensure your home and family are safe. Locally owned for more than 30 years. Call Gabroots, G-U-B-R-U-D-S.
Call the good dudes at Gabroots, G-U-B-R-U-D-S, Gabroots.com.
Hey, it's Grant Napear for Village Financial Group. I have known broker-owner Spencer Grimmenstein for 25 years, ever since he began his family-owned business. Whether it's a home equity line of credit or buying or selling a home, Spencer is a very creative financing specialist with access to private money. Check out Village Financial Group at vfgloans.com or call Spencer at 916-805-4868. Be sure and call for the investor special. And if you go to their website, vfgloans.com, you can find over 9,000 properties available for purchase. Folks, Spencer is awesome. Trust me. Again, I've known the guy since 2000. It makes sense to call Spence at 916-805-4868. Village Financial Group, looking out for your best interest. Call 916-805-4868.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Tell your friends.
Grant's back!
Grant Napear is back on the Sacramento airwaves right here. KSAC 890 AM Olivehurst, K284CM 104.7 FM Sacramento. Hello, Sacramento.
Sacktown!
And welcome in.
Grant Napear.
How you been?
You know this guy.
It's your show.
So happy to hear you on the airwaves.
Time to begin.
2+ decades on the radio with you.
Just the start of an incredible journey.
Now he's back on Fox Sports 104.7 FM and 890 AM.
3 to 6 every day, Fox Sports Sacramento.
The phone number?
916-779-0929.
His name? Grant Napear.
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Let's get right to it. Let's stop wasting time here. Sean Salisbury after Grant's rant at 5 o'clock today. The Sacramento Kings, first and foremost. Here's the topic. Here's my question of the day. Are you ready for my question of the day? I want you to think about my question of the day, and I want you to be honest. All right? It's a yes or no question. It's not a question that, no. It is either yes or no. I'm going to get to that question in a moment. So on social media, not a lot, a few people thought that my comments regarding the Sacramento Kings and Doug Christie are of personal nature. And I've been very open about this on this program, that what happened to me 5 years ago and my fractured relationship with Doug has nothing to do with my evaluation of him as a coach. I've always been able to separate how I feel about an individual and my comments about the individual for what I do for a living, I've been able to keep them separate, all right? I have. I've always tried to do that. I don't let any personal, bias, if you want to use that word, with how I feel about an individual's character, how I feel about whether the person's good or bad. I've always tried to keep that separate from how I feel about what I see that's going on the field, and in this case, on the court. Let's get to the basics here. The Sacramento Kings are awful. They're awful. They have 5 wins and 16 losses, which is the second worst record in the Western Conference. They have the worst point differential in the Western Conference. Okay? They are an embarrassment. And yes, there is a real problem at the head of the snake with Vivek Ranadive. I have talked about that at length. I have also acknowledged that Scott Perry has not put together a roster that a lot of coaches would want to coach. I've made that very clear. His big free agent signing in the offseason has turned out to be pretty much a disaster with Dennis Schroeder. Okay? We get that. The first-round draft pick, Nick Clifford, has been a disappointment. He cannot really get on the floor and get any rhythm going. The second-round draft pick, Max Reyno, has played well the last week or so. As far as Doug Christie goes, I've been very clear about this going back to last year. I didn't think he deserved to get the interim tag. I thought it was wrong. It's just not the way you do business. You don't go down the bench and get your 4th guy and say you're our interim coach, okay? I didn't think he was ready for it. I didn't think he deserved it. And again, I didn't think he was ready for it. At the end of the season, after the Kings were embarrassed by the Dallas Mavericks, I was very thorough in my comments on our post-game show with Jerry and Ryan over on YouTube that I thought Doug was outclassed and thoroughly outcoached in that game by Jason Kidd. It was very apparent to me. Most of the people that were watching that program in the thousands agreed with my take. It was very clear. I also made a comment after that game and in the subsequent days that Doug would be getting the full-time position and that if he had not retained the position as the coach of the Sacramento Kings, not one team in the NBA, not one team would have contacted Doug in the offseason and interviewed him for a vacancy. Not one. Okay? You really can't argue with that. So for those of you, and you're in the minority, but that's fine, I want to address this, that think that my comments about Doug Christie as a coach are personal or I'm getting back at him, I don't think that way at all. Actually, I think the other way, because I know Doug better than you. I know Doug much better than you. I know Doug better than pretty much anyone in the community, with the exception of maybe his wife and son and his select, very, very, very close friends. Okay? I know him inside and out. I know how he thinks. I know his philosophy. And here's what I do know about Doug. And this is not debatable. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. He loves the Sacramento Kings and he loves Sacramento. I've said that on many, many occasions here on the radio show. But that doesn't get in the way and should not get in the way of you hearing criticism and thinking that my criticism is unjust or unfair. Really? Unfair? Are you kidding me? Have you watched the games? The Kings aren't even competitive on most games. I mean, it's not a matter of losing. It's a fact that they're not even competitive in many of the games that they play. I think that has a lot to do with coaching. I'm aware the roster's not great, but it's better than 5-16, I can tell you that. So here's my question of the day. All right? If you think that my judgment is clouded, here is my question of the day. It is a yes or no question. 916-779-1041. 0929. 916-779-0929. My question is this. If you were the general manager of the Sacramento Kings and your future, your job security depended on winning and losing, if your job security depended on a future that was going to go north instead of south, would Doug Christie be your head coach? Very simple. Yes or no? And I believe that almost all of you would say no. Okay? That's the essence of my criticism. If your job security depended on the team being successful on the floor or not, would Doug Christie be your head coach? And if you're being honest with yourself, I have to believe the answer is no. It would certainly be no for me, and I have been very consistent with this going back to last year. I have not wavered. It's not personal. I don't have a vendetta, and I don't have that because I know how much Doug loves Sacramento and loves the team. Okay? So you can think whatever you want, but you also have to understand that my job is to be opinionated. I've always been opinionated. I will always be opinionated. And if you can't handle criticism, then you probably shouldn't listen to me because I can be very critical at times. I've been critical about this team before the season began. I told you before the ball was tossed up in Phoenix that the season would be over by Thanksgiving and that this season would be a disaster. And part of my forecast had to do with Doug. Part of it. Not all of it, part of it. So, I haven't wavered on how I feel about things. I've been very consistent. I've told you what was going to happen before it happened. I'm not the only one, by the way, that is being overly critical of the Sacramento Kings. Here's the report card on CBSSports.com at the quarter poll. Grades through the first quarter of the season. Sacramento Kings, F. Reason for optimism. This 2026 NBA draft might be so good that it's Kings proof. Reason for pessimism. They're bad at everything. This is what was written, CBSSports.com. So, what are the Kings good at? I'm struggling to find anything. I suppose they don't turn the ball over much, but that's mostly because they rank near the bottom of the league in passes. Their players would rather miss shots than throw bad passes. They've done quite a bit of that. The Kings, as of writing, rank 23rd in the NBA in effective field goal percentage. They're not getting good shots, as they rank 29th in three-point attempt rate, 24th in free throw rate, and 27th in field goal attempts in the restricted area per game. Domantas Sabonis has led the league in rebounds 3 years in a row, yet this is still the worst rebounding team in the NBA. No one is really surprised by their number 25 defense, considering the best defender on the team, Keon Ellis, can't find consistent minutes for reasons that remain unclear to everyone outside of that building. The De'Aaron Fox trade represented a real opportunity to tear this team down, start over, and build it properly. Instead, a bizarre ownership mandate to remain competitive compelled them to add a number of contracts that no one else in the league wants. The lottery is really the only source of hope here. The Kings are so poorly run that even their attempt at building a halfway decent team led to the bottom of the standing. Sam Quinn, CBSSports.com. Did you listen to what I just said? It's not just me, okay? If you really want to be objective about this, let's just call it the way it is. The team is very poorly coached. The roster is poorly constructed, and the ownership is in. Okay? Period. Nothing from CBS Sports.com. That. How about Ellis line? I mean, is someone with that? In. Pride by their number 25 defense, considered best defender of the team. Ellis finds reasons every out of that building. Critical of the team. The reason why I've been critical to a degree is obvious. The reason why I've been critical of the owner is way obvious. And the reason why I've been critical of Doug is because he looks like he is so far in over his head that I actually am beginning to feel sorry for him. Last week, he was asked about the identity of the team. He didn't even pause. Defense, right? Rebound and share the ball. Really? That's your identity? No, your identity is your team sucks. Your identity is there's no rhythm to your rotation. There's no adjustments. And there are very few things that really make sense. That's the identity. And again, I'm not the only one that feels that way. I just read you an entire thought from CBSSports.com, among others. The make 'em feel us Sacramento Kings is Doug's favorite expression. Make 'em feel us. Have you seen the Kings do that more than a handful of times in their first 21 games? So Doug is really good at preaching, but his team is really bad at following what he wants them to do. Regardless of whether you think they're capable or incapable, they're not doing it. There's no rhyme or reason with this team. There's nothing that's going on that makes sense to me. Nothing. Nothing. And I've been very consistent about that from day one. I didn't understand the Russell Westbrook signing. It made no sense to me. It still makes no sense to me. And I admire the heck out of what he does. I admire how he plays. I admire his work ethic. I wish everyone on the team played with the same vigor and heart that he did. But he shouldn't be on this team. It's a joke. Let him go somewhere else, would you please? Why would you want Russell Westbrook on this team with where this team is at? It makes zero sense. I mean, it was a stupid signing, plain and simple. There's no other way to say it. And then Doug has fallen in love with Russell, and he's playing him like, sometimes like if he's the best player on the team. And in the process, he's jeopardizing minutes of younger players that should be getting on the floor. I mean, listen, I can lose just as easily with Russell Westbrook as I can without Russell Westbrook. All right? Like, I can lose the same way without him. So again, nothing makes sense. Nothing. Nothing makes sense. Plain and simple. And so, like, if my criticism of the coach of the Kings bothers you, then you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, why does it bother you? What do you think that I'm saying that you disagree with? So my question is very simple, because we can just end this conversation right now. Would you hire Doug Christie to be your coach if you were the general manager of an NBA team? Be honest with yourself. Would you hire Doug to be your coach if you were the general manager of an NBA team? And I got to believe that 99+% of you would say no. 916-779-0929. And again, if you disagree with me, call up and tell me you disagree with me. If you disagree with me, hit me up on the chat line, the text line, or on YouTube, over on our Fox Sports Sacramento channel. I'm fine if you disagree with me, but I don't know how you could. I really don't. I really don't know how you could disagree with me. Pretty simple. Pretty simple to me. It's professional sports. There's a thing called the standings, right? Which is the only thing that really matters if you are hoping to be in the second season. It's the only thing that matters. Once these standings don't matter, which I think has already occurred, then you go to your plan B and your plan C, and that is, it is time to play our youth and be spirited and at least give the fans something to be happy about. How many Sacramento fans that go to the home games are happy when they walk out of the building? How many? How many times has that happened this year? 2? Maybe 3? The Utah game opening night? The Minnesota comeback 10 down with 2:51 left where they won in overtime? That's about it, right? Am I missing one? Am I missing something here? I don't think so. So, like, if you want to jump on me because I'm being critical, ask yourself the question, would you hire Doug if you were a general manager of an NBA team? Here's my text line, 530-NO in capital letters with 6 exclamation points. 916 in caps, agree with you, Grant, 100%. 916, hard no. 916, no chance. What about you? What do you have to say? Again, 916-779-0929. I talk a lot about experience. I talk a lot about the good in businesses and the businesses that I have talked about over the years being in Sacramento. And one of them is Village Financial Group. And it goes with knowledge of the broker and owner and Spencer, who I've known for 25 years. That's when he began his family-owned business. And whether it's a home equity line of credit, maybe you're buying a home, selling a home, Spence is very creative, very creative. He's a financing specialist. He has access to private money. Call or text Spence at 916-805-4868. That's 916-805-4868. Be sure and ask about the investor special. And if you want to look at all of the properties available, which are over 9,000 available right now, just go to their website, bfgloans.com. It makes sense to call Spence at 916-805-4868. Village Financial Group, looking out for your best interest. Your phone calls, you're at 916 right here on Sacramento.
Days can be a time of increased stress, those with opioid or addiction. Time for opportunity beginnings. This holiday season, choose treatment and recovery of fans creates opioid stimulation provider near you. .org.
Hi, it's Margot from Bennett's Restaurants. The holidays may feel far away, but the best dates are filling fast. At Bennett's, we make every celebration effortless. Host your holiday parties in our elegant private dining rooms, or let us bring the chef-crafted catering right into your home or office. From family dinners to company parties, our team delivers the flavors, service, and holiday magic your guests will remember. Secure your holiday celebration today with Bennett's at bennettsrestaurants.com.
Are your lights flickering more than a disco ball? Tired of your office coffee maker and server room fighting over that one working outlet? Call the pros who keep the juice flowing. Elite Power Inc. Elite Power Inc. is the commercial and industrial electrical contractor who takes your power and lighting seriously so you don't have to. Elite Power Inc. handles everything from rewiring ancient office buildings to installing cutting-edge control panels in factories. Their IBEW 340 electricians have more certifications than your printer has error messages. And they promise not to judge your breaker panel's creative labeling. Get plugged in with Elite Power Inc., where sparks fly, but only in a good way. Professionally trained technicians, 24-hour electrical service, maintenance, and repair. Project estimating, the knowledge and skill for any commercial or industrial need. Call 916-739-1580. That's 916-739-1580. Or go to elitepower.com.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
All right, let me read some messages. I would go to the moons of Jupiter to not hire Doug. He needs to go. No on Christie as a head coach. He only got the job because he knows how to play the politics to impress the owner. No chemistry and lack of coaching, and this is the result. 916. Doug Christie is in way over his head, Grant. This is rock bottom. It gets no worse. 209. Nope. 916. If we all agree we wouldn't hire Doug as head coach, then why do you believe Scott is staying with him? Because I believe he wants Mike Woodson to be the head coach, and he wouldn't put Mike Woodson on this sinking ship right now. That's why. That's how I feel. Many, many more messages coming in. Grant, I like Doug, but he's not an NBA head coach. This was a Vivek hire, and he's going to be a coward and let Scott Perry take the blame. We will never win as long as he's the owner. So to answer your question, Grant, no, absolutely not. Okay, so you just lit up Christie. Now what? What solutions do you think could benefit the team? That should be the question. Well, first of all, I don't really think I lit up Christie. Your version of lighting up and my version of lighting up are different. And the reason I say that is I had a great relationship with Doug, and I don't just forget all of that like it never happened. And I know who he is as a person, and I don't wish him to have pain and suffering from a failed attempt to have a team the way he envisioned. So that doesn't make me happy. Okay? That doesn't make me happy. I'm not like gloating that Doug is struggling as the coach. I just don't. 916, at first I was supportive, but now after seeing what's been going on with the rotation and starting lineup, I say no. All right, here's the 650. No, I think you're just being objective about Doug, but is your show a Kings Talk radio show with some other sports, or is it a sports talk show? Well, you obviously don't listen to my show very often. If you listen to my show, you wouldn't ask that question. You say you want topics on the NFL? Well, I have two guests every week that talk about the NFL at great length. I talk about the NFL at great length. And if you were a regular on this show, you wouldn't ask a question like that. And here's the other thing, 650. I appreciate your support. But if you want to ask me a question about the NFL, you just took the time to write a long text message, which I appreciate. Why don't you ask me a question about the NFL? I'll be happy to answer it. Secondly, I don't know if you're aware of this. I do believe, I'm not sure where the 650 is, so I forgive me. I know it's not in Sacramento, but I am based in Sacramento. I'm doing the show from Sacramento. The only thing of interest in sports, for all intents and purposes, are the Sacramento Kings. Like, what would it be like for me to do a sports show in Sacramento and not focus in a lot on the Kings? Like, how long do you think I would last? 650. I mean, do you want me to do a sports show in Sacramento and not talk about the Kings a lot? Not cover the Kings a lot? Like, how do you think that would go over? So ask yourself those questions as well. But again, thank you for your support. If you're not listening in the Sacramento area and you're not a fan of the team, then yeah, I would think at times it's going to be difficult for you to listen to because you don't care about the Kings. I get that. But the vast majority, not 51%, the very large majority of my audience wants Kings information, wants Kings opinions, wants Kings sound bites, wants Kings coverage. Okay? Like, that's just the reality of the situation. 916-779-0929. 650, I do have some bad news for you. Sean Salisbury, who is on with me every Tuesday, just texted me and said he has to reschedule this week because he's approaching a dinner meeting and he just will not be done in time. And so we will reschedule. 650 says, Grant, 650 is San Mateo County, the peninsula. And here is an NFL question. Vikings gave a 4th and a 5th for Adam Thielen. Was it worth it? Cody. You know, Cody, that's a great question. No, not what he did. By the way, the Steelers just picked him up. Did you see that, Cody? By the way, speaking of Cody, who's a diehard Broncos fan, and this goes back to the other 650, I'm going to have my worst 5 teams in the NFL and my top 5 teams in the NFL. You know what's been increasingly difficult every week is to come up with the top 5 teams in the NFL. Every week that I do this, I really struggle to come up with 5 teams in the NFL that I think are worthy of it. From the 209, Grant, any thoughts about Del Rogers retiring from KCRA for over 28 years? He's a legend. Yeah, I'm really happy that you brought that up. Thank you very much. I respect Del Rogers immensely. I congratulate him on a phenomenal run at KCRA. He is somebody that succeeded on the athletic field and succeeded in his career doing sports for a great station. And I applaud him. I wish him nothing but the best in retirement. I watched his sign-off, which is very emotional. And I wish him nothing but the best in the future. He is Sacramento. He falls in a long line of great sports directors and anchors that they've had at that station in the world of sports since I moved to town. Creighton Sanders, Bob Hogue, Walt Gray. I apologize if I'm leaving someone out. Christine Hansen. Del Rogers is a Sacramento institution. And I wish him nothing but the best. Thank you for asking me that, 209. I wish him nothing but the best. Very emotional sign-off that I watched. And his love for high school sports and what he did with the coverage at KCRA. Listen, I've always said this about KCRA. When I moved to Sacramento in 1987, they were network news in a local market. That's what they were. They were like watching network news with Stan Atkinson and Margaret Pelly. That was like the best local newscast in America. And they won awards for it every year. They were great. But Del, if you are listening or if somebody tells you, I want to wish you the best, my friend. And I consider you a friend, even though we're not texting each other and calling each other. But I've always enjoyed talking to you. I've always respected you. And you've always done a great job. And I wish you the best. Grant, what franchise is worse, the Raiders or the Kings? Well, it's got to be the Kings because the Raiders have Super Bowl trophies. Imagine being a fan of both like me. Right now, they're pretty bad. 916, we need more if you don't like that sound bites. What do you mean by that, 916? Expand on that. What do you mean by that? Back to the comment about Dell. When I moved to Sacramento in 1987, there was a lot of familiarity that you were very fortunate if you were a viewer of local sports. Because you had Creighton Sanders, Bob Hogue, then Walt Gray, Christine Hansen. You had Jim Crandall, who was great, who recently retired, great guy, great at what he did. Stuart Sato was at Channel 10, great, great guy. And so many others with longevity. I can't mention them all. And if I'm leaving you out, it's not because I didn't think you were good and I didn't appreciate you. It's just that I'm doing this off the top of my head. We've been very lucky in this market with sports directors, sports anchors that have stayed for a long time. Very lucky. All right, let's get to Dorian right here on the Grant Napear Show. Hi, Dorian.
What's up, Grant? What's up, Rhino? I don't mean to
switch
up the subject, Grant. Again, shout out to Dale Rogers, legend. He covered, when I was in high school. So congratulations to him. But Grant, I think what really upsets me, makes me pretty sad about this whole Doug Christie situation is that it's very fast. It's hard to see as a legend. And I've always just with my friends and legends to stay away from Sacramento Kings football. Instead of like the Kings, just don't. I don't want to be around the team in the sense of coaching staff or about history of the Cavs has not been very good. And look what happened to right, Wade, but the emphasis. The Sacramento fans are very, but they're also of like, look what happened to Cousins, like all these of beloved here, and obviously beloved Sacramento King players. It's like that's slowly happening to Doug Christie right now, because there was a huge part of the fan base that really loved the signing of Doug Christie, and I wasn't on that side, but after a 5-16 start, I don't want Doug to be my coach. Not with this team, not with this roster. Like, since being team one, this team has regressed every year. And I just don't want that. It makes me sad to see what's happening to Doug and what's going to happen to Doug, because, I don't see him being a long-term head coach. And I just think that fans are just going to be, I think just his legacy is going to be continuously tarnished as a Sacramento Kings legend, unfortunately.
There's no way that Doug's going to be the coach of this team next year. There's not a chance. There's just not. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I would hate to see his name be like Vladdy's now. And there are a lot of fans that still love Vladdy. But like now when you bring up Vladdy's name, the first thing they talk about, well, gee, he's the idiot that didn't take Luka Doncic.